Hi everyone, this is a continuation video to my last video about why the universe I think is. This is just elaborations to how a universe like that could exist, because everything has to be, we're talking about a theory here of an ultimate mind that separated itself into many pieces. So in this theory, now how do things work? What can we learn about the mind, and what can we learn about how we are here? What are the rules that govern this, that make this possible? Starting with an interesting fact, which is, at least from what I've seen, feel free to correct me, the world is built on atoms. Atoms are in everything, and then you have a certain amount of atoms put together equals a different type of material. Why would a world that is real have atoms of every single thing come down to the same source? There's no reason. It could, every single material that we feel should, down to its molecules, if it's real, be not made up of the same thing that's everywhere in the world. It's just molecule combinations. But it would make sense if it was, you consider it a computer code. So you're reading into a system and everything's built up from molecules as the most basic fundamental reading device. Basically, it's like the 0 and the 1, and the molecule is basically functioning as the smallest, well, inside of it there's even smaller maybe, but it's all the same. It's starting from the same source, so it's easy to decode. If it had like 7 different types of molecules around the world, the options could be even more immensely crazy. But we're only functioning on running on one level of code, and that's very interesting to think that they actually took the lazy solution and didn't go for a bunch of levels of code, but only one. But if everything goes down to the same molecule, then a computer could read the code and project exactly the world as it's supposed to be seen. We could read the code. If every molecule had a different, if everything was broken down into different types of molecules, that would be less likely that it's a functioning computer, because we could not all decode the same information, because it would be too complicated. So that's one interesting thing which feeds sort of into the simulation. Now, how do you get to be part of this simulation? An interesting thing is, so by my theory, there is a lot of souls that are out there in the universe, basically, but they're not part of our world. They can't even really contact us. Maybe some of you can be contacted. I definitely can't. But maybe it is possible. Again, as everything is a mind construct. But basically, by deciding to come to this planet universe, we've decided to not be able to see those souls that are out there. And how do we decide something like that? The only way we can decide something like that is, again, we're an ultimate mind. Ultimate minds can decide whatever they want to decide, and that'll be so. They can brainwash themselves into anything. An ultimate mind can do that. That's one of the greatest powers of an ultimate mind. So, to be part of this universe, only souls that tap into the frequency can be part of this universe. And what is that, being part of this universe? If you're not abiding by the rules of the universe that already existed before you, you tear up into shreds. You wouldn't compute on that wavelength at all, because you're not part of the natural causes of how the world functions. So what is the first thing a soul has to do if it wants to join this planet? What it has to do is it has to make itself believe something. But what does it have to make itself believe? A crazy thing. You have to believe that you are a sperm egg in a world that looks exactly like it does at that given second. And you have to agree that, and mind, basically mind shift yourself that you are that sperm egg. And then you, from the moment you've said that you're that sperm egg, you can't do anything. Let's say they want to abort you. You're aborted. You have no power. You have to go on image after image as that thing that you fully said, I want to believe that I'm that. And that's why this world feels so real. It can't feel not real. We are ultimate minds who agreed to play in this rules and settings. And the first rule we said was, I am not an all-powerful mind that can encompass an endlessly large universe. I am simply a sperm egg that will be born into a child. And all the minds that are here are attuned to only respond to minds that are in their simulation naturally, that come through the levels and agreed to make that first brainwashing. That's probably, in a sense, also in my mind, the first brainwashing that souls had to do. Why did it have to be two souls? Because two souls have to be there to create the third soul. And it has to be some sort of system of being able to reproduce. And the moment you can reproduce, another soul can jump in and say, I am that thing, and go through the same process. And that's basically the code. And so my imagination is that the first two souls that came in had exactly the same thing, probably not that long a lifespan, and they were basically nothing but, something, they basically, some sort of minuscule creature with not many properties that basically would only desire to reproduce more than anything else. And then they could create another one, but they could be a very simple creature with in it the elements of evolution. And then more souls could partake in more souls. But even from the first soul that partakes in this elaborate universe, they had to go through the system in the way where they first said, I am a sperm egg or something. And only after they agree that they are that, I am this, living in this giant universe, that's what I believe, go. And that's why also maybe the Big Bang, why could it be, how could everything suddenly just appear? It could just appear if it was like a computer. If a computer loaded up a new software, it would come out straight, just like it is in the Big Bang. And that's why we can't find anything before that, because it's a program that just started running. Here, everybody, this is how the planets and everything look. That's what you have to remember when you come into this planet. You have to remember the layout of every single molecule that exists, of every single human. And when we interact with other humans, we are interacting by the fact that we've both agreed to these rules. We've agreed that we are who we are, and we see the world exactly the same. We're all holding that image together, and we're doing it seamlessly. We're doing it very well. We're doing it as well as a god would do it. But in that, we're also this smaller vantage point that we agreed that we are this person. None of this information, I don't know how it could help somebody, maybe it can, but none of this information, other than sort of seeming like it could make sense, we have no way to prove, because it goes back to, what are you proving? Your mind is alive, you know that. Your mind is here. There's nothing, that mind exists, you know your mind exists. Everything else could not exist. But your mind exists. That's known. That you can't unknow. That's the most basic fundamental of knowing. So one thing we can know for certain is that we are creating this planet and ourselves and this planet in whatever form that we've taken We are projecting that perfectly all the time, and we are 100% a part of it all the time until we die. Now I'm going to go a little bit into love and emotions, interesting things. So when people die, we don't love dead bodies. We don't love dead bodies. We love the person. We love the life. So what do we actually love? You know? Because when the person is dead, we don't love the body anymore. So it's not physical. The love is not physical. It's not for the physical. It's for a bag of decisions that were made by a soul in whatever circumstance it was in. You know, I love my son because of the way that he preserves the world and goes about it. And I just love watching him going through his processes and successes. That's what I love, is the person making all those decisions. And so we're loving a concept, a decision maker. That's what we're loving over there. We're loving in the mind. We're loving where in a way of things we can quantify, even without knowing it. We're quantifying what this person is and what his essence is. And we're quantifying it by decisions and by thought process that this other individual has. So that again goes back to, why would this be something that is not as physical? Why is this a mind thing? And if it's a mind thing, then maybe again, everything is a mind thing. Because this goes back to and I was thinking about when we have emotions hurt, you know, our bodies. We're scared, our body hurts, we feel shame or guilt, our heart closes. But that doesn't hurt so much. What hurts more is the narrative we play in our heads. That hurts a lot more. That plus that just does it, but the emotions themselves don't do it. It's the words. And if words can cut, then words can cut even without a body. If words can cut, it's not that the heart can feel better. The heart can feel whatever it feels. If the mind is raging, the mind will hurt. Even with the body will somewhat comply, but it doesn't matter. The mind is more powerful. And that makes sense again if it's all simulated. The mind this is another characteristic of the mind. The mind can hurt. The mind can feel all kinds of emotions that, you know, go through narratives and stories, because it all goes back to the equation. Did you go out and hurt another soul that is exactly like you, who is basically you? Did you do that? If you did that, you have what to atone for. There's shame, there's guilt, there's terrible feelings that come with that. And that's what makes sense, because you hurt yourself. And souls that can sit next to each other outside of this world can only do so, probably, because they are willing to, they're good, and the other ones feel comfortable being around them. And there's a thing of a gaze, like if another person is thinking of you or focused on you, you kind of feel it. And how can you feel it when somebody's focusing on you, and you can feel if it's the projections from other people, their energy is transferred to us through their projections. And again, projections doesn't mean physical. Projections means, it's all mental at the end of it all. It's all mental. And so if these projections from other people, just from the mental state going, I'm like you, but I don't believe you are doing the right thing. That's a strong claim from another soul who's just like you. Again, we're all the same at our core. That's also another thing about love. Love Love, if you think about it, you love your dog. Yes, you love your dog a lot. But a love to a human is different. Love for a human is different. It just is. It can be a much, much greater love. And the only reason that could be, again, is because the human creature has a certain level of complexity that everyone shares. Everyone shares this exact level, basically, of complexity, and we're all a soul, an endlessly thinking mind. And now that we both start from the same characteristics exactly, one of us is ahead and one of us is behind. We as people here feel good when other people like us. Why should we care? There's no good reason to care, except for the fact that they are exactly like you. And so if you have an argument with somebody and go, I want this more, I like this, and another person disagrees with you, whatever, two people, one agrees, one disagrees. But if you know that there are endless amounts more that are just like you, at the essence, life, creating of a world, they're just equal to you, but they're doing better than you. They don't think like you. They're looking down on you. That can hurt. That can actually make you question yourself. It's because they're exactly like you in so many different ways. And again, we are one because we all have the same great ability of creating a world. Now, making decisions in that world, we all differ. And that's where we get to see, even though we are totally the same, this is how we are different. And these trials and tribulations make us different from one another. And we get to love one another through the decisions that we get to make over here, which is one of the greatest things you get in this life, which is to love. Anyway, I think that is where I'm going to leave it right now. It's so crazy, the theory. I hope people just give it a thought. It's like there's only two things we know. This universe is absolutely existent. For us, it's real. Whatever, if it's real or not, it doesn't matter. It feels real, and you can't get out of it. And that you're creating this world perfectly all the time. This world always exists around you. No soul can shake you from what you told yourself you wanted to believe. And that's what we get to see all the time. And we're working in accordance with all the other souls perfectly all the time, because we said we would. That's what we're doing. Anyway, hope this video finds you people well. I think it's quite interesting stuff. And that's it. Thank you for listening.